Chaim v'livracha. To life and to blessings. The opposite of life and blessings. If you want to insult a Chabad rabbi, I don't suggest you do it, but you call him, you're such a yesh. You're such a thing. Meaning the opposite of being humble. The opposite of humility. You're a thing. Yesh means you are. Right? Somebody who thinks they are something, right? How do they carry their selves? Their forehead is high in the sky. They walk around like this. That they own the world and everything is deserved to them. Someone who walks with humility doesn't walk that way. Right? Someone who's a yesh, who's a something, so everybody's something is their business. So, they're watching and seeing everything. Humble person's looking down because they're not watching everybody else's business because it's not their business. To be a something is to recognize that you're separate from God. You can believe in God, but hey, I'm a something. I'm a somebody. Don't step on me. As a Hasidic Jew came to the Tzemach Tzedek third Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he said to him, the grandson of the Alter Rebbe, and said to him, wherever I go in the synagogue, and I share my ideas, my thoughts, and something I have to say, no one listens to me. So Tzemach Tzedek said that if you wouldn't spread yourself so much in the synagogue, you won't get stepped on. Right? So the haughty person, somebody says something, you stepped on me, you insulted me, you hurt my feelings. Well, don't have your head up like this, so therefore everything that's heard is, directed to you, that you're just, you're all over the place, so of course you're going to get stepped on. But humility, if you're looking inwards, if you're looking physically, not up like this, but you have to look down like this, like an ostrich, not like an ostrich, right? But down, minding your own business, and you won't get stepped on because you're not a yesh, you're not a something. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich Foundation in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Excuse me. We begin today chapter 30. Chapter 30, the Alter Rebbe begins with quoting from Pirkei Avos, from the Ethics of Our Fathers. And this is continuing from the previous chapter, that the Beinoni, the one who has mastery over thought, speech, and action, who doesn't do wrong, but has a heart that might be kind of dull and not full of passion, of connection to the divine, wants to work on that. So in the previous chapter we spoke about chopping up the log, chopping up the mitzias, the I am of me, the somethingness of me. And now we take this a step further in a very, very deep, deep manner. What is that? So it says, our sages say, "Have a shval ruach b'fnei kol adam," that you should be humble or low in spirit before every person. Now, many of the commentators say that as if, because, if you're a great scholar and a great holy person, how could you be lesser than anybody and everybody? The Alter says, no. Indeed. The greater you are, the lesser you're going to feel in front of others. Whoa. Now, in a healthy way, by the way, not because you're unhealthy. It can be, and again, don't try this unless you're very healthy spiritually. But if you're healthy spiritually, then you know who you are, you know what your purpose in life is, and to think this way will not be counterproductive, will not be destructive. Right? So other commentators want to say, well, you got to protect yourself from becoming haughty because of your greatness. Truly, you're a Torah scholar. You're a very refined person. Well, that might get to your head. Right? Especially when you look at somebody else who's not a scholar and not a refined person. So therefore, consider yourself to be lesser than everybody, as if. The Alter Rebbe says, no. It doesn't say, as if. It says, have, be. Be in reality lesser than every other person. Ooh. So how do you accomplish that? That sounds like a very challenging thing to be so self-effacing in such a manner, to be so humble in the face of everybody. So, says the Alter Rebbe, we can understand this by another teachings in the Ethics of Our Fathers, that you should not judge another fellow until you have stood in their place. So Alter Rebbe says, oh, really, as you stood in their place, meaning it's their place that makes them sin. You're not a sinner, and they are? Well, it's their place. So he takes this literally and figuratively. Literally, that if someone is making their livelihood, on the street, and they're sitting on the street the whole day, and especially when it's summer, when it's warm weather, and people don't dress so modestly, and that person's eyes are everywhere, and from their eyes everywhere, they're going to have desire from immodest dress of people who are walking in such a manner in the street, as opposed to someone who works at home, or they work in in a private place where they don't have that struggle. So of course, they're going to have a much greater difficulty. So it's their place that creates the challenge, the physical place. It's also the spiritual place. Not everybody has the same temperament. Some people have a fire in them. Well, fire, if you harness it, it could be used to cook. But if you don't harness it, it can be destructive. So they have a fire in them that is like a passion that can be destructive. While maybe your nature is very docile. So the fact that you don't have negative thoughts in your mind that don't take you over, where this person does because of the fireplace. In other words, how God made them. So don't make yourself greater than them because of what, their struggle. they don't have the temperament that you do. They don't have that. Again, it's their place that makes it. So therefore you should don't judge them until you reach their place. If you had their temperament, if you worked outside and where there's immodest dress and, people walking in the street in such a way, that's a big struggle. Now, the Alter says, that doesn't mean that the person who has a big struggle is not responsible. You're not saying that. Of course you're responsible. And you're a wicked person if you allow your eyes to indulge in somebody that you're not supposed to indulge in whatever manner, right? In whatever manner. You're not allowed to sin. So, of course, the person's still responsible for their behavior. And remember, thought in Jewish teachings is behavior. So if you have immodest thoughts in your mind, or negative thoughts in your mind, you're responsible for it. Fine, that's for the individual themselves. But me, looking at that individual, or comparing myself, if you will. And remember that why we're comparing over here is in order to remove the dullness of heart that the Beinoni has, so they can serve God with a great joy, as we will see will come out of this, and a great love and devotion. Right. So again, the person, they're responsible for their, yes, but me, how I'm looking at that person, don't judge. Because if I had the same temperament and if I had the same job as they did, I might be worse than them. That's humility. And the Alter Rebbe says further, in the end, the effort you put in. So the effort that they have to put in just to keep their eyes off what they shouldn't be seeing, it's a huge struggle. Are you struggling the same, Mr. Beinoni? Right? Are you struggling with your prayers that you're, eking out everything that you can in your prayers? Are you doing that? Right? If you're not doing that, then how are you better than this simpleton? They have to eke out and they have to work so hard just that they should, not prayer, but that they should allow their eyes to go in a place they shouldn't go. Are you working that hard that your eyes should be focused on the prayer book and eking out every last drop of drop within you to focus and to connect to Hashem in your prayers? Bearing that in mind, now you could see how you could be humble before every single person. This conversation will continue. Actually, one second. Yeah, so with this then we can have the notion on how you could be humble before every single individual. Because when you look at, it doesn't matter, you might say, well, that person is in the negative area, trying to stay away from negativity. But me, I'm just me. Am I working that hard in my studies, in my prayer? That's all positivity. But before God, there's no difference. And each person, with what their struggle is, that's the bottom line. So for a person who's got, you see some people, you just look at them the wrong way, they're already whatever. You know, you said something, they get angry, even though like you didn't say anything, didn't mean anything, but okay, that's their temperament. Don't judge that person until you reach their place. Because if you had that temperament, humility would say that, oh, maybe I'd do even worse. Um, this is a healthy self-esteem. You could see yourself lesser than every other individual because you're very clear in who you are and your purpose. And here you want to get rid of the negativity within you. So by looking at yourself lesser than every other individual, knowing clearly who you are, knowing that you've accomplished much, but you want to get rid of the yesh in you, the something in me. That something is blocking my divine connection. It's blocking the divine connection that should be with a fire, with a passion. And therefore, I'm working on myself to see myself this way, so I could really then take away the blockage. Take away the blockage that's in the heart, on the outer layer of the heart that might be dull like a rock, that's not allowing the spontaneity of the soul to emerge with a passionate love and awe of God. So these are some of the methods that we use. In our next class, we're going to go all the way from this to what the desired place we should be. And that is simcha, joy, real joy. We go through this process that we just described in the last two chapters, and then you can come to a real joy. Because when you own your stuff, then after that you can come to a place of full connection, full joy, gladness of heart, and because you've dealt with what you're going to deal with. Any questions, any comments? Very powerful. Vicky, it is more than temperament. Does it also depend on upbringing? Yes, very good, Vicky. Yes, thank you. So you're right. Temperament is your first nature, but then you have a second nature. And the second nature is based on upbringing, influence of, friends, influence, from school that, as a young kid in school. So yes, we've got different layers. And the prime layer is a temperament that God gives us, which is what we call nature, first nature. But then there's second nature, things that developed. Yeah, all of that. All of the above. Yes, thank you. Yeah, very good. Darren has a question. Is thinking and accepting a weak physical body does affect negatively the soul? Thinking and accepting a weak, Darren, Maybe when we have a weak physical body, it's because we have a strong soul. Right? A strong physical body can prevent the soul from emerging. Right? But let's, when we say weak, weak can be on different dimensions. Excuse me. There's two things about the body. There's the body itself and the nature of the body. So the body itself, we want it to be strong, but the nature of the body, we want it to weaken it, because the nature of the body is I am. Body takes up space. Soul doesn't take up space, physical space at least, right? Because it's connected. So to truly be connected, it is not taking up space. Body takes up space, right? And therefore, and it wants to take up more space. I am. I need. I want. Get out of my way so I can get what I want. I got to take up more space. That's the nature of the body. So, so when the body isn't so strong, that allows the soul to be stronger. It at least the nature of the body, for sure. Now, yes, we should have physical, healthy bodies, because then we get so focused in on our bodily needs when we're not healthy that we can't focus in on our spiritual and our spiritual needs. Yeah, good question. As you develop the awareness of the unconscious through, the soul realizes enlightenment. Right. Yeah, that's true. But what we're doing, this is Chabad teachings. Chabad is an acronym for Chachma, Bina, Vidas, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And what it is to take the teachings, the divine teachings of the Torah, and to bring it into intelligence, into our understanding with our minds, in order that which is spiritual, that which is divine, should now permeate me, become a part of me. Not beyond me, but a part of me. That is a much greater accomplishment, because that which is naturally beyond me, I want to incorporate it and make it of me. Bill, to understand thinking as in variable rhythms and not exactly uniform motion, and to unpack this hand intention against the other hand could be the experience of tefillin. Connectivity is somewhat the charge. Not certain I got that clear. I don't think I got that clear, Bill. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Can you use the body effort to dominate our soul? To dominate our soul? I think that's what you mean. Again, if we have a healthy body, then that allows us to focus in on the soul. The problem is when we focus in on a healthy body too much, then we forget our soul, right? We forget our soul. Also, when we are overly focused on the body, so the reason why we do that is because we believe we're in control. So really what we're in control of is our behavior, of our actions, of our words, the way we communicate, and of our thoughts. of our health, ultimately it's a blessing from above, because you might have a healthy body, and then, God forbid, something sets in. So it's really a blessing from above. Yeah. Okay. That's it, I think. How does one balance bitachon and patience versus action? Is when did the horse sellers move to automobiles and know it was okay? Good question. So let's use a modern day example. Thank you, Mr. 613. So, we're on social media right now. Like, how do we come to do that? So when you realize that everything is created by God and it's got a purpose, so you want to use that purpose for in a divine way. So first it was horse and buggy, right? So you traveled with horse and buggy. Then there came locomotive. And you realize, I could get quicker to do a mitzvah with a locomotive. So let me use the locomotive. So before, we reached people. You wanted to connect, you reach them by telephone and you speak to them. Right. But that was one at a time. How many people could you reach at any given moment? Was limited. But now, with social media, with the internet, you can use it as a tool. Of course, it can be used in a negative way, right? Unhealthy way. But that's not what it was created for. Social media, internet was not created so people could use it just for entertainment or for just going with their thumb a whole day, or for a long period of time. It was created for a divine purpose, to bring more goodness into this world, more divinity into this world. So when do you know that you go from a telephone to a smartphone, from a regular telephone that when the smartphone now could be used for a higher purpose? If you're not going to use it for a higher purpose, you're just going to use it for gaming, you're just going to use it for, going, mindlessly scrolling. So then, no. Go back to a regular phone, a dial phone, if anybody remembers that, right? Go back to that, and don't use what. So when you know that there's a divine purpose, you find it. Bill, the divine in guidance for being chosen. Oh my gosh, the joy inherent to the experience. Much dancing. Absolutely. Every Jew should do somersaults and cartwheels. The joy to be Jewish. Every human being who recognizes that they're created in the image of God and that God created them for a purpose that they can fulfill God's purpose in this world should do cartwheels and somersaults. Right? We should be full of joy. Absolutely. Okay, folks, Rambam coming up. Thank you very much. I am humbled by everybody's day in, day out devotion to come and learn together. Very. It's amazing. Thank you.